listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the mighty Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people. Original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people positivity. The Narrative Podcast promotes positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture. The Narrative Podcast provides positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators. What's everybody good? I said, what's everybody good? What's good, everybody? On this fantastic Friday. I really don't like doing uploads on Friday because I do my 4 episodes on the weekend and I don't like them to overlap. But, you know, it is what it is. It's just been that type of week. So this is my free moment to do a weekday upload of the Narrative Podcast, and so that's what I'm doing. I wanted to do one yesterday, but like I was feeling the kind of way still, because if you joined me on, I believe it was Wednesday, the last time I did an upload. Wednesday or Thursday, one of the two, that I did an upload, my last weekday upload, like when I had to take a moment of silence for all those people that we lost. So had to reshift my energy, and the mode was just off. Put it like that. That's why I didn't do it yesterday, but doing an upload tonight. I got some pretty good content for you this evening. For those unfamiliar with me and my platform, how I generally start things off is I do promote all my projects at the beginning of the podcast. Then after my promotional section, then I walk you through a brief overview of the Narrative Podcast, and then dive on into the content. So, let's go. So, first thing I would like to promote is the podcast itself, the Narrative Podcast. And I need your support to make the platform grow. And the way you can help me do this is to follow me on either YouTube or X, formerly Twitter. You want to follow me on those two mediums because this platform uploads to those two mediums automatically once I'm done recording. So the moment I'm done recording, whether I went back and edited the episode or not, it's on YouTube and X. I do have option to edit the episodes. I ain't doing all that. I probably should, edit out those background noises and stuff, the white noise and my fillers when I'm like, but, it is what it is. Anyway, how's everybody doing on this fantastic Friday? Great, I hope. Now, to finish summing up my promotional section, you want to follow me on YouTube and X. I already told you why. So my directions for following me, for supporting the Narrative Podcast through YouTube, you follow it like this, or follow these directions to support me. Support the Narrative Podcast on YouTube. You want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Halsey Allen, HALLZIE Allen, Allen. And then subscribe to my channel, of course. Then once you've subscribed to my channel, what you want to do is click the notification bell, click notification all, and then you will be formally informed of the latest upload of the Narrator Podcast to YouTube. And then after you're subscribed, you want to leave me a comment in the comment box on my YouTube page. Comment on the latest episode of the Narrator Podcast. Give me any type of feedback you would like. Just give me some feedback. And then also click the like button. And the like button on YouTube is the thumbs up icon. So we want to click on the thumbs up icon for the YouTube algorithm. And then also share the latest episode of the Narrator Podcast to whatever platform you enjoy sharing content to. And that's how you support the Narrator Podcast when following me on YouTube. Quick disclaimer, my YouTube page is my viewer page. I don't have a page designated exclusive for exclusive Narrator Podcast content. That's just my general viewer page. Like I enjoy, watching YouTube videos on that account. So I don't have an account set up just exclusively for the Narrative Podcast. And then so if you don't want to subscribe to my channel and you want to listen to the content, go to my page anyway. Go to my videos, and all my videos are set to public. And the only ones uploaded should be episodes of the Narrator Podcast. They're all in chronological order. So yeah. And that's how you support the Narrator Podcast when following me on YouTube. Now to support the Narrative Podcast. Now I'm going to give you directions for supporting the Narrative Podcast for X, formerly Twitter. I just like to say Twitter because even though they changed it to X, literally nobody says X. Nobody. Everybody still says tweets. Everybody still calls it Twitter. Nobody says X. So I don't even know why they did the name change. Nobody honors or acknowledges the name change. Everybody still says Twitter. Everybody still says Twitter, and everybody still says tweets. But anyway, the following directions how you support the Narrator Podcast on Twitter. You want to go to my Twitter page, which is I Stay Good at Halsey Allen, all lowercase, no spaces. I, lowercase I, stay good at Halsey Allen. And then it's my page when you see my book of poetry that I've written pinned to the top of my page. It says the black card. That's how you know it's my page. But anyway, so now that you know what my page looks like, and to be looking out for Narrative Podcast tweets, the link. So after you follow me on Twitter, the only thing I generally upload to Twitter is, uploads of the Narrative Podcast. So once you see the latest link on the Narrative Podcast, from the Narrative Podcast, you want to click the link. And after you click the link, it should expand, and you should see the Narrative Podcast banner. When you see the Narrative Podcast banner, click the like button on it. And the like button is in the shape of a heart. So click the heart-shaped like button after you've clicked on the link to the Narrative Podcast from Twitter. And then once you've clicked on the like button, the banner will expand again, And then after it expands again, and the banner, by the way, is just my podcast logo. It just says the Narrative Podcast. It's with the microphone in the background, a picture of a microphone in the background. That's my logo, and it says the Narrative Podcast. So once you see that expanded for the second time, you want to go under that, click the heart-shaped like button again. Then next to that, for some odd reason, is the icon of a clock. I don't know what that symbolizes. I don't know what it's for, but don't click on that. Next to that clock is the comment box. You want to leave me a comment on the latest episode of the Narrative Podcast when you're following me on Twitter. And after you've left me a comment in the comment box, click the share button and share the latest episode of the Narrative Podcast wherever you like to share content to. And that's how you support the Narrative Podcast when following me on Twitter. So just another quick request. This is to all my visual content creators. If you are a visual content creator, meaning like you have your own podcast series, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you're uploading content on any platform, and you're on the other end of a camera, I would need you to shout out the Narrative Podcast and me, Halsey Allen, for the algorithm. That's just to my visual content creators. But, otherwise, just click on the link, like, comment, and share episodes of the Narrative Podcast on whatever platform you like to share content to. And that's the directions for supporting the Narrative Podcast when following me on Twitter. The next thing I would like to promote is my book of poetry that I've written. I've written a book of poetry titled The Black Card. The Black Card is a 30-page book of poetry. It's an ensemble of, our people and our culture, all the nuances of our culture, and everything our people experience and go through as a people, both positive and negative. So it's a day in the life of / how to / survival guide, 101 crash course on black culture. And pretty much that's why I titled it The Black Card. If you are an original man or an original woman, you'll enjoy this book. You will just, instinctively connect to it. It'll just, the pieces will just be calling out to you. You're definitely going to relate to some piece in there. At least one of those poems you're going to identify with instantaneously. So it's a good read, very enjoyable, very creatively written. You will like it. So go to purchase the Black Card today. And how you purchase it, currently it's only available on one medium, and that's poetizer.com. Go to poetizer.com. Poetizer.com has a virtual online bookstore. Go to their virtual online bookstore. Type in my title, The Black Card, when you reach their online bookstore. Written by me, Halsey Allen, The Black Card, on poetizer.com, and purchase it. Then, people outside of our culture, you don't need to feel left out as well. If you're not black, an original man or woman, you can still enjoy the book. If you, consider yourself open-minded, and have a progressive attitude about learning about different cultures and different people, that's the book for you. Go check it out. Share it with your children, or just use it as a tool to help broaden your horizons to better relate to the original people in your life. You know, your black co-worker, your black neighbor, your black student if you're an educator. Go check it out on poetizer.com. Go to the virtual online bookstore and purchase the black card. Purchase the black card today or get your black card revoked. And if you're unfamiliar with poetizer.com, basically it's just a social media platform for writers, specifically poets. But it's open to all genres of writing, but they primarily focus on poets. So that's an open forum for them to gather and, you know, socially interact with one another, bounce ideas off each other's heads, yada yada yada. So that's what poetizer.com is. Go to poetizer.com, visit their virtual online bookstore, and purchase my book of poetry that I've written titled The Black Card. Purchase the black card today or get your black card revoked. And the last thing I would like to promote this evening is my personal poetry blog titled hallziespoetrycorner on blogger.com. And the link to it is www.mrhalziesblogs.com. And what that poetry blog site is about, basically it's just a collection of poetry that I've spontaneously written in the moment. But the poems featured on that blog site, you know, they cover a wide array of topics. Legitimately every event in life you can think of, there is a poem on Hallzies Poetry Corner to commemorate said event. Any emotion you can experience, happy, sad, angry, whatever, there's a poem on Hallzies Poetry Corner to commemorate that emotion. The poems featured on that blog are appealing to everybody from all walks of life, any ethnic background, you know, any gender, whatever. It's available for everybody. You're guaranteed to relate to the poems posted on that poetry blog, no matter, you know, what your stance in life is, you know, what you identify as. You're going to relate to a portion of one of the poems featured on Hallzies Poetry blog, or the entire poem itself. Guaranteed. And that's, you know, what the poems on that blog site is that they're just, you know, totally relatable poetry, like anybody can relate to. As a matter of fact, the tagline for that blog site is Hallzies Poetry Corner, poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. And, you know, when you visit the blog site and start reading through all the poems posted on there, you will see that they, you know, not only live up to that tagline, they surpass it. Now I do have poems posted on there specifically for our community, black community, original people, as I refer to us as. Yeah, essentially the poems posted on there are for everybody. So once again, all the poems that I wrote and posted on there, they are 110% spontaneous. I didn't contemplate on the subject matter. I didn't, premeditate what I was going to title each piece. It's just raw kinetic energy. It's just like, as the old saying goes, it's poetry in motion. If I had to compare it to my style of poetry on that blog site, I would compare it to like a freestyle rap or a spoken word poem. That's just how spontaneous the poems come to me. But anyway, go to Halsey's Poetry Corner on blogger.com at www.mrhalseysblogs.com and check my poems out today. And the way you support the blog is by sharing the link to Halsey's Poetry Corner, which is www.mrhalseysblogs.com, or sharing poems featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner across all platforms, and also when you click the link and visit the blog site, leave me a comment on the poem. And all my poems have a comment box on them. The comment box is typically located directly underneath the piece. It'll say comment and has a little icon of a pin for some odd reason next to the comment box. Then after that, after you've left your comment, like the poems featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner, and the like button is in the shape of a heart, so click the heart-shaped like button on all the poems featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner, and that's how you support the blog. So yeah, that's it, and that's all. That's all that I would like to promote this evening, and I keep you up to date and up to speed about all the new projects I would like you to support in the future. So when I get to the stage that I need to support, I'll let you know. But for right now, just support the Narrative Podcast. Download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast. Support Halsey's Poetry Corner, and support my book of poetry titled The Black Card on poetizer.com. So that's it for my promotional section of the Narrative Podcast. And now I'm going to walk you through a brief overview of the Narrative Podcast in its entirety. I provide this overview of the Narrative Podcast before diving into the content, just to better familiarize the listener to my format style. So, just to contextualize it for you so you can digest the content better. That's why I do the overview of the Narrative Podcast before just, diving into the content. So let's start off at the top tippy. Why I titled my podcast The Narrative Podcast. I named my podcast The Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. I provide full context on why I refer to our people as original people a little bit later on in the synopsis, but for right now, let's just deal with the Narrative Podcast. So I titled it, the Narrative Podcast, because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. The media intentionally misrepresents our people by distorting our images and our likenesses across all media platforms. It's intentionally done. They do this intentionally. They promote and play up negative stereotypes and stigmas about our people and within our culture to, further their agenda. And, to counter that, that's why I created the Narrator podcast. To counter the negative frames of reference that the media provides everybody in the world about our people and our culture. So what I'm doing on this platform is I'm providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and that's what the Narrator podcast is all about. So in essence, I provide the positive frame of reference in an attempt to change or alter the general perception of our people and our culture across all media platforms, and changing the narrative, hence the title, the Narrative Podcast. So my mission statement is basically to inform the listening audience about why it's important to responsibly utilize your platforms to share positive frames of reference about original people and original culture. And then also to encourage the listening audience to responsibly utilize their platforms to share positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture on their platforms. Now, the next thing you need to be aware of, the next nuance of the Narrator podcast, I know you heard me open up with greeting my narrators. So on this platform, I refer to my target listening audience as my narrators. And basically the textbook definition of a narrator just means somebody that tells the story, tells a story. And the context that I use it in is just basically what I'm saying when I call my target audience, listening audience, my narrators, is just meaning, my extended family and friends, for you guys to be my eyes and ears to help, illustrate the story of our people, to tell our own story, to narrate our own story. And the reason why we as a people need to narrate our own story, if history hasn't taught us anything, it's taught us this: if you don't tell your own story will be told for you. And the story being told about our people is that we're all ignorant, we're all violent, we're all lazy, we're all degenerate in nature. We don't want anything in life. All we do is complain about life. We're nuisances. We're drain on the resources. Our lives don't mean anything. We're bottom of the barrel. We're worthless. We're useless. So that's the story that the media is telling about our people, and they're broadcasting it across all forms of media: television, movies, literature, advertisements. So that's why we need to responsibly utilize our platforms to tell or narrate our own stories. Alright, so now that you know why I call my target listening audience my narrators, I'm going to give you an example of how to be a narrator. So this is an example I use pretty much every episode, and basically how to narrate on social media. So every media platform has a profile section. In the profile section, you just list whatever you want the world to know about yourself. your hobbies, your interests, your beliefs, your values, whatever you believe in, whatever you represents you as an individual. And then after you filled out your profile section, typically you upload visual content to support or reflect what you've entered about yourself in the comment section. So say for instance, like in my comment section, profile, I said comment section, pardon me guys, I meant profile. So on my online profile, if I put in there that I'm a literary buff, I like to read, say that, I entered that in my profile. So my visual content would be visual images that are reflective of what I've entered in my profile section. And so there would be pictures about my favorite books, what I like to read, my favorite authors, just anything literal, and not only just a picture of, books, it's the best possible visual image that I can possibly provide about, what I've entered in my profile section. So that's the job of a narrator, to provide the best possible visual representation of our people and our culture across their media platforms. So whatever platform that you're on, put out the best possible visual representation of original people and original culture. So we need to be telling our story from our true nature as a people. What is our true nature as a people? We're kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universes. We're not niggas, we're not hoes, we're not bitches. So we don't need to be supporting gang culture. We don't need to be supporting violence culture. We don't need to be supporting gun culture, or rather gun violence culture, because it's gun culture is like being a gun owner. That's nothing wrong with it. But when you play into the negative stereotype about our people being trigger happy, far as like unaliving our own kind for no reason at all, we don't need to be engaging in that imagery. We don't need to be engaging in the imagery of the angry black man. We don't need to be engaging in the imagery of the angry black woman. We need to be engaging in the imagery that is the essence of our people's life force. We need to be showing imagery of us being in unity, living in harmony amongst each other, having fun, enjoying life, being productive in life, contributing to our neighborhoods, our society, through philanthropy, through humanitarianism, supporting our loved ones, supporting the planet, being salt of the earth individuals. That's what we need to be reflecting on, our visual platforms. We don't need to be shucking and jiving, cooning and buffooning all the time. We don't need to be engaging in gang culture, like posting pictures, throwing up gang signs, and we don't need to be doing that all the time. We don't need to be promoting pants sagging down around your ankles. We don't need, that's for the fellas. For the ladies, we don't need to be promoting, the tongue out, twerking, and having that necro, unruly energy, attitude. Can't say nothing to you, can't look at you. We don't need to be promoting that all the time. So not trying to be perfect. We're not going to lie to ourselves and try to act like we're perfect, but we don't need to be, reflecting this bottom of the barrel image that the media has placed over our people. We don't need to be supporting that. We need to be telling or narrating our own stories. That's why I call my target listening audience my narrators, and that's the job of a narrator, is to tell or narrate our own story. Now, the next thing you need to be aware of the Narrator podcast when listening to it is this is a positive space for our people and our culture. I don't engage in any negativity, any gossip, any slander. I try to just promote positive content. This is a space where I'm uplifting and edifying our people. So no put downs, no roasting, no, nothing. No, I try to stay away from any and all negative banter, any and all negative sounding banter. I don't try to engage in that. I just want to provide positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. As a matter of fact, I kind of got a little carried away in the intro. The tagline for the Narrator podcast is the Narrator podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes about our people and our culture? By providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And that's my entire function on the Narrator podcast, is to provide positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture. So, this is a positive, safe space for original people. Just here to celebrate our accomplishments and our achievements, highlight our successes, promote positive reinforcement of our people. I'm all about promoting positive reinforcement, giving compliments, giving praises where praises is due, giving people their roses for things that they're doing that are correct, that are positive, that are impactful. This isn't a space of negativity. So the Narrator podcast is a positive, safe space for original people. What I'm a podcaster, so of course I commentate on current events. When I'm commentating on current events, every once in a blue moon I might have to, well, more often than not, I said every once in a blue moon, that was like untrue. More often than not, when it comes to our people, if I ever bring up somebody's name within our community that may be a celebrity, 90% of the time it is a celebrity. And unfortunately, nearly all the celebrities from our community, they stay in the news for something negative, a negative headline. They're involved in something negative. Now, when I'm bringing up that individual's name to commentate on whatever it is they're going through, it's just basically to lay it out, to break it down, to compartmentalize it, to assess their situation. It's not to belittle them. It's not to make fun of them. It's not to try to, clout chase or whatever. This is just breaking down their situation. And how I deliver my commentary on the Narrator podcast, I typically try to keep it in perspective of, the bigger picture. In the bigger picture, in regards to original people, typically anytime we're involved in something negative, anytime we're behaving negatively, that's a deviation of our true nature. And how our true nature usually gets deviated from are through two, main things, like systemic oppression and psychological programming and conditioning. Those two main factors are the root causes of negativity in our community. So what do I mean by systemic oppression? So systemic oppression, this is basically like, the powers that shouldn't be playing with us in our face. It's like, okay, they created this game. They make the rules to the game. And they try to make it so only they can win. No matter how good you play the game, it's always, they win in the end. Meaning they change the rules at any given time. They don't want you to acquire any tangibles, any assets, anything you can do to enhance or improve your state of being and elevate your world. We can't do anything systemically. How they try to set it up. We can't. Now in this country, especially, I'm just talking from the American perspective, we're supposed to have freedom of speech, but yet every time we use our platforms to express our freedom of speech, we get demonetized, we get blocked, we get, fined and whatever, and all the other repercussions. And then on the other side of it, when somebody offends our culture, there's no repercussions for it. There's no fines, there's no apology, there's no nothing. They get free range to talk as reckless as they want to about our people and our culture, and there's no repercussions for them for doing it. But as soon as we voice our opinion, then it's, we get scolded, we have to apologize, we got to pay a fine. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Everything shut down. When it's us doing the offending. But meanwhile, when somebody offends us, no repercussions for them. Financially, on the financial side of the systemic oppression, after we achieve, air quotes, financial independence, that's the name of the game. That's how you win the game, is pivot from being a W-2 employee to owning, your own businesses and being financially self-sufficient, meaning you're not getting your source of income from the government or a job or investors. You're getting everything, as we say in our culture, off the muscle. So after you get everything off the muscle, then it's when you're setting your pieces on the board, they go and change the rules. Then it's, you got to pay all these taxes. Then it's a fine for this, a tax for that. You get triple tax, 3 times the amount, more than everybody else. To run your own business, you probably have to name people that don't look like you as your CEOs and your, executives, board of directors, just so your business can stay in operation. As long as the state that it's located doesn't suspect that that's a black-owned business. Because if they know it's a black-owned business, this is the fines, it's the this, it's the zoning, it's the all this stuff. Permits and the fine for that and the tax for this. That's on the systemic oppression side of it. Then on the psychological programming and conditioning, I already told you how the media tries to manipulate and play tricks on our minds. Not just our minds, people outside of our culture's minds, by manipulating our images and our likenesses to make us appear to be a certain way. Not only appear to be a certain way, to normalize these negative stigmas and stereotypes. So it's like the way people outside of our culture view us, we view each other that way. Because they're programming and conditioning our minds to respond and interact and react to one another a certain way based on the visual images they provide of us. And all the visual imagery they provide of us are all negative. They never show, images of us winning, images of us being in harmony, peaceful, loving each other, liking each other, being decent towards one another. So, it's basically like on the psychological programming and conditioning side of it is psychological warfare. They've programmed us into normalizing things that ain't normal. They desensitized us to violence with the visual images that they provide us. We normalize violence in our community. Like you can see somebody blow somebody's brains out right in front of you, step over their body, and go on about your day. That's the number they played on us as a people. Like we normalize violence, we normalize poverty, we normalize debaucherous, socially unacceptable behavior. We normalize degeneracy because we've been programmed and conditioned to accept it as normal from the visual images that's provided to us by the media. So they programmed us to being this way, to act and live and speak negatively. So ultimately, yes, in theory, you can choose your own reality. You can choose, what you allow into your mind. You can choose the way you want to live your life. Yes, I believe all that. But the media does play a significant role in all that, because there's a lot of things on there you just can't unsee. There's a lot of things that you can't unhear that we're constantly being bombarded with on a daily basis. And it takes a toll on your psyche as it was intended to. It's like popcorn in movie theaters. The violence on TV is just, that's how they get you. They make it appealing. They make degeneracy appealing within our community. They make it cool, hip, and trendy to disrespect each other and to violate each other. And those are the two main factors usually at play when somebody from our community is involved or going through something negative. And that's the perspective that I usually try to frame it up in the commentary I deliver in my commentary section of the Narrator podcast. So other than that, I don't indulge in any negativity, gossip, and slander. This is a positive, safe space for original people. And the next thing you need to know about the Narrator podcast, it's a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast. The reason why I do that is to keep my audience captivated, attentive, and entertained and informed. Like, I can't keep your attention if I'm boring you to sleep. So, this is an all audio platform anyway. There's all kinds of things to deviate your attention and, have you lost in thought, focusing on anything but what I'm saying. So I try to, counter that, remedy that by just keeping it short, sweet, brief, and to the point. I don't want to beat you upside the head with the message. I just want to be the deliverer of the message. I want to make the message plain. I want to make the message digestible, palatable, and applicable. And I definitely want you to retain the message. So, you're not going to retain it and apply it if, you don't know where to filter out the fillers. So that's why I try not to just talk and talk and talk. Try to hit all my speaking points and make them perfectly recognizable. Have good transitional segues and try to wrap it up in a speedy pace. Not speedy, super speedy, like, trying to zip through it, but, you know what I'm saying? Just like try to make it as exciting as possible. So that's why I try to, keep my broadcast as short as I possibly can. It's really easy to go over my time limit on an audio platform because you're talking. You want to make sure that you're covering all your bases, but I don't like repeating myself, and I don't like just talking in circles. So primarily what I focus on is just the content. I try to have speaking points, and I try to time each one of my topics that I speak about. So that's all as far as the time limit of the Narrator podcast goes. I try not to exceed 1 hour, and I try to keep it, short, brief, and to the point. And then last but not least, on the Narrator podcast, I refer to our people, black people, as original people. I refer to our people as original people for a couple reasons. Reason number one is I find the word black to be more impactful and more accurate to describe us as a people. On the impactful side of it, there's nothing that trumps the first. Everything pales in comparison to the original. Everything that precedes the original was based upon the original. You have to have the first in order to have a blueprint to know how to do it. So our people, black people, we are the original people of this world, of this plane. If you don't believe in round earth, we were here first. We were original. We superseded every other nationality, race, ethnicity, whatever you want to call it. Our people. People with the African DNA, people with the Negroid gene, people with the large concentrations of carbon, aka melanin. We was here first. We were before anything was. Original. So not only did we exist first, we also created first. We originated everything you can think of. We were the original architects We were the original explorers. We were the original alchemists. We was the original scientists. We was the original chemists. We were the original teachers. We were the original philosophers. We were the original astronomers, astrologers. We came first. We originated everything. So that's what I mean when I refer to our people as original people from the historical perspective. Another reason why I refer to our people as original people instead of black is to unify us as a people. Because like I said, we were here first, and not only were we here first, we was everywhere. We existed everywhere. There was a large concentration of our people existing everywhere you can think of, on all the 7 continents. There was a large concentration of our people originally inhabiting every landmass in the entire world, even the North and South Pole. Everywhere. There's not one fraction on the planet that our people didn't already originally inhabit. So said all that to say, not only are we the original people, we are the most diverse group of people on the planet. There are so many different types of us. We refer to ourselves in so many different titles, nationalities. We all speak different languages. We all hail from different land masses. We all have different flesh tones. Culturally speaking, if we're talking culture, different religions, different spiritual practices. We're just a diverse people. But in our diversity, we also have a whole lot of similarities. We can all trace our lineage back to the original point of origin. We all have large concentrations of carbon, aka melanin. We all possess the Negroid gene. We were all here first. So therefore, we're all original. No matter what we refer to ourselves as, no matter what we believe in, one thing we can't deny, one thing we can't refute scientifically is that we were here first. So you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. You can believe in whatever you want to believe in, but at the end of the day, you're an original man or you're an original woman. If you have any of those characteristics, if you have large concentrations of carbon, aka melanin, if you possess the Negroid gene, you are original. Because we are the only people that makes, variations of our people. What do I mean by that? Like, say a Caucasian person or a white person, if they look at somebody from us, they're not going to be like, oh, he's Jamaican or she's from Nigeria. They're going to look at you and be like, you're black. An Asian person, they're going to look at you and be like, you're black. An Irish person, they're going to look at you and be like, you're black. An Italian person going to look at you and be like, you're black. But we're the only people that make all these distinctions about us. You're like, oh, I'm not black. I'm Haitian. I'm not black. I'm Nigerian. Yeah, or we say, yeah, I'm black, but I'm from Germany. My people are from Germany. Or, yeah, I'm black, but I'm from the UK. Or, yeah, I'm black, but I'm from Canada. We say everything but just what we are. We're black, but I think original just sounds better. It's more accurate. It's historically accurate, and it's just more empowering. and it's more dynamic, and it's the perfect universal way to describe us as a people. It's a perfect universal descriptor. Because no matter where you're located in the world, no matter what language you speak, no matter what deity you pray to, your spiritual discipline or practice, you are an original man and an original woman, period. So that's why I refer to our people as original people. And then before diving into the content, what I do every segment is dispel the false narrative of slavery. The powers that shouldn't be has taken it amongst themselves to appoint slavery as the flagship of our existence. Meaning everything that we are, everything that makes us us, is because of slavery. You see, while slavery did happen, we did suffer in slavery. Slavery is not the most definitive era of our existence. We was here on this planet thousands of years before slavery. Meaning, we existed everywhere long before anybody enslaved anybody. Meaning, we didn't get to everywhere that we reside in currently on a slave boat as, it's being taught in schools and, different circles in the world that, we all got to wherever we was through the transatlantic slave trade or chattel slavery. Like when, like I said, we was here first. So do you think we was just all gathered in one spot? Or we didn't go exploring? We didn't say, hey, what's that over there? Let's go over here. Hey, let's go over here, y'all. Yeah, let's go over here. And a group of us went over this way. A group of us went over that way. And then next thing you know, we're spread out, all everywhere. But we're led to believe that they just, all these different cultures just kept going to Africa and getting African slaves and dropping them off in Europe, dropping them off in Spain and Central America and Brazil and Dominican Republic and in Colombia and all these other places. But we was already there, especially here in North America. We are the original indigenous natives of North America. We already existed here long before slavery. So when they say that pilgrims enslaved the Indians, they're talking about 80% of our people who was already here. Now the ones that's called Native Americans, them guys, the ones that own these casinos and hotels and on them reservations and got these tribal councils, they're not the real natives. They are Siberians. They are Mongols. We are the original people of North America. We got flim-flammed out of our heritage. And the ones that aren't from Siberia are $5 Indians. White people paid $5 to change their lineage. Look it up. You can go to the Library of Congress online right now. You can go to any college database, and when you research, always go to college databases, because all of the information in there is works cited, not from no wikis. These is from actual, people, anthropologists, people that got degrees, not just people talking to be talking. They'll tell you that we are the original natives of North America. But yeah, they want to perpetuate this false narrative of us being the docile slave. They want that imagery of us being fearful and us being ignorant and, not attempting to try to gain our freedom. They want that image of, oh yes, master, please don't beat me. Yes, sir. They want that. They want to amplify that imagery. That's why they spend all them billions of dollars producing slave movies, because they want to perpetuate the slave narrative. They want to keep us mentally enslaved and not getting past that time period. And then y'all say, well, why y'all always bringing up slavery? Because y'all always sitting up there cramming slavery down our necks and not letting us forget it. So when you bring it up in history, we're like, y'all people were slaves. And y'all say it so indignant, like we just the scum of the earth, when we was really the founders of civilization. When we saved y'all from y'all self, y'all was sitting over in Europe, dying in your own filth. We introduced y'all to soap water, cologne, perfume. Yeah, the Moors was up in Europe thousands of years before slavery. They freely went up there and civilized y'all. But they want to perpetuate this image of slavery. So while slavery did happen, all of us didn't come from Africa. We all have African lineage, but we didn't all come from Africa. We didn't all come on slave boats. So the slave boat, we need to because when you think about it, it's scientifically impossible anyway to cram all them people, like over 1,000 people, bunch of people on a boat. They're not even going to make it to North America from Africa. They will be spending more money than they will be making selling the slaves. Does that make sense? No, it does not. They will be spending more money to go get them than they would actually make selling them. So what makes more sense is that the explorers enslaved people from the lands that they went exploring. They enslaved the people that was already there. Not going all the way to Africa. But yeah, though, I just want to, clear up that misnomer, that miscommunication, those lies about slavery. Not only do they do that to try to belittle us, they also do that to instigate drama in our community. They try to divide us as a people because we got this little disagreement within our community about slavery as well. Some of our African brothers and sisters be like, y'all not us, y'all ain't like us, or y'all American blacks think y'all better than us because y'all in America, but y'all was slaves. Y'all wasn't even strong enough to get your freedom. And then on the American black side of it, we like, y'all ain't us, y'all ain't like us, y'all ain't our brethren, y'all ain't our kinfolk. Y'all let them people enslave us, and y'all didn't do nothing to try to get us up out of bondage. So that's that. They instigate that little disagreement within our community with the false narrative of slavery. And just so much more stuff. But, I try to touch on a different part of it every episode, but primarily I just want to dismiss the false narrative of slavery. Its impact it had on us, our involvement in the slave process, because, that's their first little weapon they throw out. They be like, oh, well, y'all had slaves too, and we didn't have slaves. We had indentured servants. We had people that worked for us, and they was eventually free to go after the debt was repaid. We had prisoners of war when we waged war on other tribes, but we never had slaves. But yeah, I just wanted to dispel some false narratives about slavery. And we're going to dive into this weekday edition of the Narrator podcast. So here we go. So first of all, on my podcast, I divide my podcast into sections. I have two different format styles. I have a weekday format style and a weekend format style. During my weekday format style, I have two sections. During my weekend section, or weekend format style, I have 5 sections. Now, I'm not going to go into my 5 sections during my weekday section. I'll fill you in on those on the weekend. But during my weekday, I have it broken down into sections, 2 sections. My first section that I'm going to be covering is positive news articles. Now, like I said at the beginning of the synopsis for the Narrator podcast, my goal on here is to provide positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And the positive frames of reference that I provide about our people and our culture during the weekday come in the form of positive news articles. And the reason why I feel it necessary to share positive news articles is because all week long we're exposed to negative news across all forms of media. In the national news, global news, advertisements, books, literature, like we're exposed to negative content all week long. All platforms use our images and our likenesses in a negative way. They're constantly shoving negative news down our throats all week long. So like I said, it's a form of psychological warfare. They want to desensitize us and break down our resistance to violence. They want to break down our resistance to degeneracy. They want us to normalize things that are not normal to make our people appear a certain way. So the purpose of the positive news articles on the Narrator podcast is I'm dispelling the false narrative of degeneracy as it correlates with our people. the positive frame of reference that I attempt to shed light on when I'm sharing positive news articles is, positive things happen in our community. We have leadership in our community. We have people doing acts of philanthropy, acts of humanitarianism. You know what I'm trying to say. A little tongue-tied this evening, but giving back, doing some type of community outreach, advocating, doing good in the world, living good, treating each other good, educating one another, rising to academic excellence, triumphing in the face of adversity. That's what I want to show or demonstrate the positive frame of reference about our people and our culture, because with the frames of reference that the media provides about our people and our culture, you will be led to believe all we ever do is go to jail, sell drugs, do drugs, gossip, throw each other under the bus, and not do anything remotely constructive. So that's what the positive frames of reference that I share with during the weekday is, just sharing stories about us, triumphing in the face of adversity, beating the odds, achieving forms of excellence, whether it's academic excellence, whether it's business ownership, whether it's doing kind, noble deeds. But, it's a positive frame of reference. So now that you know what the positive news articles are all about, I'm going to dive into the positive news article section of the Narrator Podcast weekday edition. Up first, our first positive news article this Friday evening of the Narrator Podcast. The headline reads, Black entrepreneur does homework, now owns 20 airport restaurants to hit $5 million in revenue this year. And the brother's name is Randy Hazelton, CEO of H&H Hospitality. Randy started from scratch. He runs restaurants and concession stands in airports nationwide. He grew up in a military family and moved around a lot as a child. He credits his success to his father. His father was a military man, and he instilled military discipline in him. He worked multiple jobs in the hospitality industry. He left his last job in hospitality and started his own business in 2006. It was called Cafe Soraka, located in Atlanta, in downtown Georgia, in Georgia, in downtown Atlanta. He sold Cafe Soraka in 2012 and used the money to start H&H Hospitality in 2007. He also got grant money from a government program called Airport Concessions, Disadvantaged Businesses, Enterprise Acts, or ACDBE for short. It supports minorities and women-owned businesses. Since then, he has been acquiring businesses like Familia Pizzeria, Shake Shack, and Aunt Anne's Pretzels. In the future, he's in negotiations to acquire a slutty vegan in one of the airports that he has a monopoly in. So the takeaway from this story is, as it says in the headline, you have to research, you have to do the work. He didn't have all the answers. He failed. He had to end up selling his business. He didn't go to culinary art school. He worked his way up. He washed dishes. He bussed tables. He worked all the positions of the hospitality industry. He was front of the house, all the positions at the front of the house. He was all the positions at the back of the house. He did that for close to 12 years before he became an entrepreneur. And that's the message that he teaches. His direct quote was, one of his greatest, he's quoted as saying, borrowed from other folks, some of the greatest successes are just copycats of something already here. So what he meant when he said that is like, there's opportunity all around you. You don't necessarily have to invent something brand new. You just have to improve on something that already exists. And most entrepreneurs say that as well. Don't try to create the wheel, just reinvent it. Put your own spin on something that already exists, and that'll make it easier on you, because you can study what's not working with that from afar and say, well, if this is mine, I do this and do that, and then you can take your time and pick away at it and be like, okay, that works, but it probably would work better if I added this and did that, and this would be my demographic, that would be my demographic, and this would be my niche, and you know the deal. So he didn't even have book smarts. He didn't even go to college. He just basically soaked game, wasn't afraid to fail, and bet on himself. So let's join me into putting our hands together and give Randy Hazelton of H&H Hospitality a warm narrative podcast round of applause. All right. Next positive news article this Friday on this weekday edition of the Narrator Podcast. The headline reads, Black entrepreneur from Texas acquires the largest historic building in his hometown. And the brother's name is Larry Singleton Jr. He's the co-owner of a boutique called Private Selection. Private Selection is currently online. They don't have a brick and mortar location yet. They're working on it. It's slated to be in the historic bank building at 317 East 3rd Street in Burnett, Texas. But to look at his apparel and merch, you can visit at privateselection.com And private is spelled in shorthand, so the word it's not actually private, Private. It's PRVT selection.com. And you can view all his merch. He got hoodies, he got t-shirts, tennis shoes or sneakers or whatever you like calling them. I say tennis shoes still. But he got sneakers, boots, belts, coats. You got boutique stuff. So whatever, whatever the terminology you like to use, you got it. So let's put a warm narrative podcast round of applause for our brother Larry Singleton of Private Selection. And our last positive news article this week on the Narrative Podcast weekday edition, Friday to be specific. Black entrepreneur born in jail and later incarcerated himself at 17 now owns a company worth $20 million. And the brother's name is Lorenzo Lewis. Can I be your friend though? My name is Lorenzo and I drive a Benzo. Something like that. I think that's how it used to go. Can I be your friend though? I got a Benzo. Something like that. Anyway. So he earned a bachelor's degree in human services from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff and a master's degree in public administration from Webster University. He used his personal plight or personal life story to impact and empower others as a motivational speaker. He also does TED Talks, and, is a motivational speaker for Fortune 500 companies. He also has his own nonprofit organization called TCPA, or the Conference Project of America. And what they do is they focus on mental health awareness advocacy. So he empowers participants of that nonprofit organization to, teach them about the importance of mental health. So being that he was born in incarceration and then later got incarcerated himself, he had a whole lot of psychological trauma. And, for our people in general, we all pretty much are traumatized. We all possess a level of PTSD. So when people, that don't look like us say, why you always got to bring up slavery, we're still impacted by slavery to this day. As DeAndre Wilder would say, to this day. I can't say it like him, but you know what I'm saying. But we all possess it, and mental health is something we don't really concentrate on in our community or discuss in circles, openly discuss in circles, especially, if you're a man, if you're a black man, that's just something we don't do. Typically, it's like if you openly discuss something that bothers you or something that has traumatized you in the past, you a sucker, you're a wimp, you're a punk, you're a vajayjay, but with a P, starting with a P. You know what I'm saying? They call you a P word. The JJ. Or a little bitch. But mental health, it definitely affects our community. A whole lot of shooting deaths in our community is just really people that have severe mental health issues because they haven't went and got therapy for it. And then as an adult, it manifested into violence. They're not aware of their emotional triggers, and they're walking around with a literal trigger, walking around with a trigger, and you got a hair trigger. What do you think's going to happen? But yeah, that's what his nonprofit organization really advocates. Mental health awareness. He also has another nonprofit organization called L&J Empowerment. That's him and his wife's nonprofit organization. Now they do have a website. It doesn't really say what the focal point of L&J Empowerment is. So when you go to the website, you're just going to see that it's registered as a 501c nonprofit organization. But his organization, TCPA, focuses on mental health awareness, and they basically use mental health advocacy and also teach financial literacy and how to, use the mental health awareness to make you money in corporate America, how you can navigate through your own trauma and turn that into money. So basically with his nonprofit organization, he's actually like teaching people the trade of barbering. So he's teaching people interpersonal soft skills, like when your barber be talking to you and he's like, oh, so how was your day? So that's a form of, a lot of us do go to the barber shop to get, not only just to get our hair cut, like that's kind of what the movie Barbershop is all about. When Ice Cube created that movie, to show the audience the, the lore of the black barbershop. So you get life lessons, you learn stuff, you communicate, you network with each other, you're speaking through your trauma, all while boosting your own self-esteem because you're getting the cut, so you're barbering, you're using your interpersonal soft skills to communicate with the customer and helping the customer release their psychological trauma, because that's, fellas, when we go to the barbershop for, we like, oh man, and my old lady and da-da-da, and then, oh, here's a tip. So like the great barbers, they got the gift of gab. Same thing with the beauty shop. The sister that got the beauty shop chair, her loyal customers want to be a sister going in there. She want to get, get her hair laid, but then also get her trauma off of her chest. But yeah, that's pretty much what his nonprofit organization focuses on, is mental health awareness, advocacy, and training. Just training and techniques and other forms of therapy. So if you want to know more about the TCPA nonprofit organization, you can visit them at theconferenceprojectofamerica.org. You can also follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Oh yeah, and then I forgot to say, our brother is also a famous author. You can find his story on there as well when you go to the site. He'll have a link to take you to, a list of his books and speaking engagements and everything he got going on in his life. So yeah, go to the conferenceprojectofamerica.org. Now join me into giving our brother Lorenzo Lewis a warm narrative podcast round of applause for the TCPA. All right, so now I'm on to my last section this evening on the Narrator Podcast weekday edition. This section is basically my current event section. And so my current events, I'm just really commentating on issues, whether it's, something that went viral on the internet, national headlines, or global headlines. I might have, one up to 3 topics to discuss. I might only have one topic to discuss. Sometimes I don't, talk about things in the headlines. On those rare occasions where I don't think, anything happening in the news is worth talking about, I deliver a PSA. And then the PSAs I usually deliver in those instances is just observations about us as a people, what we need to work on in our community, things I notice we do a lot. And by we, I mean me too. Sometimes me especially. Most of the times me especially. When I'm delivering a PSA. But anyway, the purpose of it speaking, my current event section that I call the speaking point section on the Narrator Podcast is just basically to speak about whatever is going on in the world from our perspective, because the media will go out of its way to have us looking and sounding ignorant. So the purpose of me delivering commentary on my platform is basically to control the narrative. So now we're going to get into the speaking point section of the Narrator Podcast, weekday edition. And the topic I want to discuss tonight is the Breonna Taylor, to revisit the Breonna Taylor case. So apparently the policeman that got exonerated from the original Breonna Taylor case has been indicted once again. So federal prosecutors filed a new indictment on Tuesday against 2 police officers in Louisville, Kentucky, Kyle Meany and John Janus. On March 13th, the deal. They went to Breonna Taylor's apartment. They went there on a tip that there was a possible intruder. And then, they broke up into her apartment. They didn't identify themselves as police officers. They squeezed 2 or 3 rounds off into the unit before even battering the door down. The boyfriend heard the commotion. He ran and got his gun, and he was a registered gun owner, by the way. So when he heard gunshots, he returned fire, but they returned his exchange of gunfire. But when they returned fire, they didn't hit him, they hit Breonna Taylor. So the reason why they're having getting indicted all over again, they found the officers guilty of conspiracy and falsifying documents. Basically, they went on there on a bogus tip. They planted evidence. They had no knowledge of any intruders. They falsified the warrant. So that's why they're having an indictment. And yeah. So hopefully those guys finally get it after all these years. Yes, Breonna Taylor's family did get a settlement, but you know, they can't replace her life. You know, she was a first responder. She was she knew her apartment building that she was staying at was a high crime area, was a high drug traffic area. She was saving up money to purchase a home to move out of that apartment complex, and got cut short, you know, before she could make her dream into a reality. So they definitely need to be punished to the full extent of the law. They should have been punished to the full extent of the law in the first place. I don't know why, or I know why. I'm just not sure why it's not apparent of the disconnect and the divide. Like, why are the lines so blurred when it comes to our people? Why there's always a but in there? Like when the news of Trayvon, he said, oh, this guy, he just unalived this little black kid. But what was he doing? You see? There's always that but when it comes to us. When the news broke about Tamir Rice, oh, a little black kid playing a water gun. But what was he doing? Was he pointing it at the police? Mike Brown, store owner. But what was he doing? He was stealing. That little but always justifies the means, and the means is our unaliving. All the time, in every single scenario. Philando Castile, Mike Brown, Amadou Diallo, Sandra Bland, and the list goes on. Emmett Till, going all the way back there. There's always that but. But what was he doing? There's never a but when somebody outside of our culture does something to us. There hasn't been a but, you know, when they found that young brother hanging that just recently got lynched. There was no but. There was no but from Marcellus Wallace. No but. Where's our but? No Diddy. Well, that's my only thing I really wanted to unpack this evening. Just really chew on that and just really process the monster that we face on a daily basis, and how much this system does not care, how much it is not equal, no matter how much they say it is equal, how much equity we don't have, how many butts we don't have. Well, join me this weekend for a full episode of the Narrator Podcast. Remember to download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast wherever you get your podcast source from. So see you in a few hours. I'm Halsey Allen, and I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. I need your help to change the narrative. You can help me change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative on my end, one episode at a time, as a narrator, you can help me change the narrative on your end, one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen in the Narrator Podcast, signing off, and it's like that.
Listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.